episode. This is an episode I've wanted to do for a very long time, and that is where I get a chance to actually look at the entire series of Ghouls and Ghosts and have a look back on where the franchise started from to where it's come to now. So here we go. So the first game in the series was released in arcades by Capcom in 1985, and that game is Maximo, also known as Ghosts and Goblins in this country. Obviously this is the NES version, and this was a really faithful version to the arcade. There was a lot of versions. There's been a lot of versions of Ghosts and Goblins for a lot of different systems. So basically with the game, you play the role of Arthur, and you're out to save the princess, whose name is Prin Prin. And it's basically the same in every single game. So there's no elaborate stories here, but it's Ghouls and Ghosts. We don't need an elaborate story. Next up in the series is Dai Maximo. It is Ghouls and Ghosts when it was released over here on the Mega Drive or on the Genesis. And this is one of my favorite games in the entire series. It is just awesome. It takes everything that was, in the first one. The first game was okay. But man, in this version, they get everything so right. The graphics are a lot better. And obviously this was an arcade game first. And so the Genesis version was really, really nice. Now, obviously there's a bunch of different versions of this game. My favorite is actually the Super Graphics version, just for the graphics. The sound is not as good as the Genesis version. That's where the Super Graphics kind of lags. The one funny thing about Ghouls and Ghosts, especially the first time I played the game, is you get all the way to the end of the game, and it is, quite a challenging game. And you get to the final stage, and guess what happens? You're about to, you think, this next stage you're going to fight the boss, but all of a sudden, the princess comes out of nowhere and tells you that basically you have to go back to the beginning of the game, get this bracelet and go all through the game again. And that's exactly what you do. So you basically start off in the stage 1 again, you go all the way through the game, right to the last level, and then you get the special weapon, and then you can fight Loki at the end of the game. So basically you have to finish the game twice. It's a bit of a pain. So the Genesis version did well, the Mega Drive version did well. So in 1991, we got Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the Super Nintendo. Super Ghouls and Ghosts was made directly just for the Super Nintendo. It was not an arcade game, but it sure looked like one. It looked so good at the time. It still holds up really, really well. The graphics are really good. They really built it, on what Ghouls and Ghosts did, and it made it even better. And the music is some of the best in the series, I believe. And yeah, it's a challenging game though. But it's one of those games, it's funny, don't we all have certain games that you pick it up, you haven't played it in 8 years, and you can still remember every single thing, every single way, to get past every single level, through every boss. That's what I have with Super Ghouls and Ghosts and Ghouls and Ghosts, is no matter, how long it's been, I can pick up the game and finish it. And as I just said, you actually have to finish the game twice, but I can still do that in one go. This is how much I love the series. Now this is very cool. In 2001, we got a Game Boy Advance version of Super Ghouls and Ghosts. And the only thing that's kind of different is it actually has remixed levels from the previous games, updated with some better graphics. So that's really, really neat to see in this handheld version. So one of the games we didn't get was Maximo on the Wonder Swan, and that was back in 1999. So 2006 was a great year because we got this, Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins on the PSP. And I'm here to tell you, it is really, really good. It's a very kind of different Ghouls and Ghosts type of game in the sense that there's a lot more exploration for weapons and items. You can actually buy items in this one. It's actually surprising how many weapons there are in this game to the previous installments. But music-wise, this game owns. So now I'm going to take a little look at some of the side games, or as they're known, Gaiden games to the Ghouls and Ghosts series. The ones off the top of my head are in 1990 and 1992 there was Gargoyle's Quest on the Game Boy Advance, and those games were pretty popular. And then Capcom later on, on the Super Nintendo, decided to take a big gamble, and they brought out this, Demon's Crest, on the Super Nintendo. So Demon's Crest came out in 1994. It's basically kind of an action RPG game. It's got some really great graphics. It looks really, really nice. And I actually think it's one of the nicest looking games on the Super Nintendo. But it didn't do so well. So that was the end of the Demon's Crest franchise. And another couple of games that I'm not going to go into super detail about were the Maximo games on the PlayStation 2. And they were created by the Capcom American Development Division, Studio 8 as they were referred to. And so yeah, they were, the first game was popular enough to get a second game. I'm not a big fan of them. They're a little bit further away from Ghouls and Ghosts than I would have wanted. It is supposed to be a side game, but it felt like a very Americanized version of it, and I wasn't too fond of that. So hopefully this was a walk through memory lane for a lot of people. And for anybody else who hasn't heard of the series, hopefully it perked your interest into some of these games. I really can't stress it enough. I love these games. Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghosts and Goblins. These games I played for years and I will continue to play. I still remember all the boss patterns for the games. It's funny, as I said earlier, I can start, at the beginning of the game and go right to the end. Well, twice, because it is Ghouls and Ghosts, and finish it. I still will always play these games, and I really hope some of you guys give these games a shot and try them out. So, until next time.